Now, Kelly Khumalo's lawyer has hit back at assertions that her client pulled the trigger that killed Senzo Meyiwa. Defense lawyer advocate Malisela Tefu says a witness will testify that the singer accidentally gunned down the Bafana Bafana captain. 5 men are standing trial for his murder. Our reporter Sindelo Masikane earlier spoke to Khumalo's lawyer Magdalene Munsami.
Well, Mfundo, we've just had a sit-down conversation with Kelly Khumalo's lawyer, that is Magdalene Munsami, here in Pretoria. Of course, this follows the startling allegations that were made by the defense yesterday during cross-examination of the state's first witness, Sergeant Thabo Mosia, the forensic investigator who was one of the first on the scene and was there to collect evidence. Yesterday, you'd remember that advocate Malisela Tefu for accused 1 to 4 has introduced what we now know to be a second docket that was investigating the Meyiwa murder. This docket has a completely different set of investigators, and it's got a completely different set of suspects in terms of who killed Senzo, but also a different theory as to what transpired on that fateful evening. This docket, Malisela Tefu suggests that it points to Kelly Khumalo being the one who shot Senzo Meyiwa by mistake using a revolver as the firearm. It also alleges that that revolver was brought in by Longwe Twala, who's the son of music producer Chico Twala. So today we had an opportunity to speak to Magdalene Munsami on these allegations, and of course she says that she called Kelly Khumalo immediately after these submissions were made, saying that she needs to remain calm and that they will consult in terms of a way forward. We know that there is going to be some kind of legal recourse or legal action that Munsami and Khumalo will be taking with regards to these submissions. They, of course, Munsami was, of course, taken out of court despite her watch brief that she was mandated by Kelly Khumalo in terms of watching what transpires throughout this trial, and they are concerned with regards to how this trial is progressing. Munsami insists that her client wants her day in court, whether the state calls her as a witness or the defense, in whatever form. She says that Kelly Khumalo wants to say her piece and tell the world as to what happened on that evening. What also was quite interesting in terms of the conversation we had with Munsami was the fact that she has now revealed that, in fact, the 5 men on trial for the murder of Senzo Meyiwa were never put on an ID parade. So those in the house have never actually identified any of these men, which speaks to some of the issues that have come up in this trial in cross-examination with how these investigations into the Meyiwa murder have taken place, and whether there are issues with regards to how evidence has been collected and how the crime scene was treated. But following that conversation, Munsami insists that her client did take Senzo Meyiwa to the hospital to try and save his life, which is in contrast to what the defense said yesterday, that those in the house removed Senzo's body from the crime scene in order to go and dump him at the hospital mortuary. Let's just take a listen to what Munsami had to say.
At first, when I did not want to call her, she was on set at the moment. I sent her a text, I sent her the clip, and I just requested her to just breathe, okay? When we had spoken, her reaction was, I'm a mother. My child was 3 months old at the time. How dare he? What do they want from me? Because it started, and this is where I gave you the background of the intimidation. We must hand her over to the police, etc. And she then said to me, we are going to now break the silence. So this is where we are at. She's confident. Look, Kelly, you know she's a person of high spirit. You don't get to that level without character development and building.
All right, to discuss the story further, I'm now joined by criminal law expert Ulrich Roux. Ulrich, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. You know, this case has become more interesting by the day. One crime scene, two dockets with different suspects identified for both cases and somewhat contradictory statements by Sergeant Messiah. What is your impression so far?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, certainly interesting developments yesterday in court as well. But the fact that there are two dockets could complicate matters for the state. If there are contradictory statements contained in those dockets, then it could certainly lead to doubt being created by the defense on behalf of the 5 accused who are in court standing trial at the moment. And then yesterday, of course, defense advocate Tefo confirming that he will be calling a witness, an eyewitness who will confirm that Kelly Khumalo in fact pulled the trigger of the gun which killed Senzo Meyiwa. So if that witness does indeed testify and withstands cross-examination and the testimony holds up and is believed by the court, then there will certainly be great difficulties for the state in trying to prove their case against the 5 accused currently before court. And one could see that a new trial starts afresh where Kelly Khumalo could be the accused.
You know, that particular line of question or some of those revelations are really the subject of much debate currently. Perhaps let's listen to that clip just for ease of reference, because I want us to tackle that specific allegation from yesterday.
I put it to you, Mr. Messiah, that witness, not just witness, eyewitness, will testify that Senzo Meyiwa was allegedly shot by a non-Tlanta Kelly Khumalo by mistake, as it's alleged. Do you have a response?
No responding that, my lord.
Angampendulo-ke kulokho kushoyo ukuthi-ke kunofakazi owabona ozosho ukuthi-ke uSenzo Meyiwa wajutshuka uyena uNonhlanhla Kelly Khumalo ngephutha.
The same eyewitness will further testify that the firearm used to shoot Senzo Meyiwa by Kelly Khumalo came with Longethwala, and the firearm is a revolver. Any response?
No comment on that.
Ulrich, very serious allegations, but this, which we heard yesterday, and also just generally the line of questioning from Advocate Tefo seems, like I said, to have been the subject of much debate. Some within the legal profession say it's unbecoming conduct, and even the throwing of allegations is foreign to some of them, while we know that some, particularly in the criminal practice, believe that that's the route one wants to take when you want to get serious concessions from a witness. Where do you stand on all of this, or the strategy?
Well, what he's doing is he's putting his client's version before court. And that is something that you need to do throughout the state's case. So if the state alleges that something happened, then you, acting on behalf of the accused, need to put your client's version before the court in order to disprove the allegations by the state. And that is exactly what he is doing. Up until that witness, however, testifies, it is, of course, of no material interest to the court, because it is not seen as evidence before court until it is corroborated by a witness. So one would have to wait and see, when this witness does testify. If the witness testifies, Advocate Tefo confirmed that the witness will be called to the stand as part of the defense case. And if that witness then withstands the scrutiny of cross-examination. So I don't think his conduct is unbecoming. I think that he's acting on behalf of his clients. And if that is the version that is being put forward by his clients, and those are his instructions, then he's acting in the correct manner. Remember that he, at all times, when defending his clients, he needs to create doubt in the state's case. And certainly if there's evidence led in court which says that another person, in fact, pulled the trigger of the gun that killed Senzo Meyiwa, then that certainly does create that doubt. However, that testimony will, of course, be scrutinized through cross-examination by the state, and one would have to wait and see whether it withstands that and whether the judge at the end of the day regards the witness as being credible.
Now, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I would have loved to touch on the ejection of Magdalene Munsami and just get your views on that, especially if we had to draw comparison to that and the 1010 film or film company being allowed to continue to broadcast from inside. But hopefully, at a later stage, we will have expert Ulrich Roux giving us more of his insights. That was criminal law expert Ulrich Roux. We now go